The black sea of space stretched forever, silent and empty, as a lone human ship drifted between the stars. Inside, one man sat at the controls. His name was Daniel Hayes, an engineer and traveler, who often worked alone fixing old ships and forgotten machines in the outer colonies. Daniel liked the quiet of space. No noise, no rules, no orders. Just the hum of his ship and the stars outside his window. But on this day the silence broke. A signal cut through the static. Weak. Shaking. The sound of a young voice. "Please, human, save my mother before the cold kills her." Daniel froze. He thought maybe he had imagined it. But then it came again, broken by static like a whisper from across the galaxy. "Please, human, my mother, she is dying. Before the cold takes her." His heart raced. He leaned closer, checking the signal's source. It was coming from a frozen moon on the edge of a forgotten system. Nobody lived there, at least not officially. The colonies had abandoned it years ago because of the extreme ice storms. Yet the voice was clear, desperate, trembling, and young. "A child," Daniel whispered to himself. "Why would an alien child call me?" Humans were not well loved in the galaxy. The Great Galactic Council had rules that often pushed humans aside. They were allowed to trade, to travel, but never to interfere. Helping aliens, especially in secret, could mean death. Still, Daniel's hand tightened on the controls. He could not ignore a child's cry for help. The ship turned, engines burning blue as it cut across the void. Minutes passed, then hours. The moon appeared in his view, a frozen rock covered in storms. The surface was cracked with deep canyons of ice, glowing faintly under the pale light of its star. Strange, Daniel thought. The cold here looked alive, moving like a living fog. He pushed through the atmosphere, his ship rattling as icy winds slammed against the hull. Warnings flashed on the screen. Extreme temperature detected. Danger to systems. Daniel gritted his teeth. Hold together, old girl. Just a little longer. At last he found a signal beacon buried in the ice. A ruined shelter stood half-collapsed, glowing faintly with power. He landed close, his boots crunching on the frozen ground. The cold hit him instantly, sharp as knives against his skin. His suit sensors screamed warnings, but he kept walking, one hand gripping his plasma torch. The shelter door was broken, frozen open. Daniel stepped inside, and there, huddled in the corner, was a child. Small, thin, covered in pale blue skin with faint glowing veins. Huge dark eyes stared at him, wide with fear but also with hope. The child rushed forward, voice breaking. "Human, please, you came. My mother, she can't breathe." Daniel's eyes shifted to the other side of the room. An alien woman lay on a bed of ice. Her chest rose and fell weakly, each breath shallow, painful. Frost covered her lips. Daniel hurried closer. He checked quickly. Her lungs were failing. She was freezing from the inside. "What happened?" he asked. The child's voice shook. "The cold. It is not natural. It is alive. It hunts us. It is killing her." Daniel frowned. Alive? He looked around the shelter. The walls were covered in cracks of ice, like claws pressing inward. The air itself seemed heavy, thick with frost. He looked back at the child. The little alien's hands trembled as they held his arm. "You are the only one who can help. Our people cannot call for help. The law forbids us." "But I broke it." "I sent the signal." Daniel's breath caught. Galactic law. If the council found out he was here, if they discovered he had answered, he would be punished, maybe even executed. For a moment. He wanted to leave. He wanted to turn back to his ship and escape before it was too late. But then the child looked at him, tears freezing on their cheeks. Their voice cracked with pure fear. "Please, human, she is my mother. She will die tonight. The cold will kill her." Daniel felt something inside him shift. The galaxy had its laws, its rules, its cold politics. But here, in this frozen shelter, none of that mattered. Only a child begging for their mother's life mattered. He knelt down beside the alien woman, placing his hand near her chest. He felt the faintest heartbeat slowing with each moment. Daniel whispered, "I'll help her. I promise." But outside the shelter, in the howling winds, shadows moved across the ice, and the cold was watching. The shelter groaned under the weight of the storm outside. Wind howled through the broken walls, carrying shards of ice that glittered like knives. Daniel pulled his suit tighter, but no human armor could keep out this unnatural cold for long. His eyes went to the alien mother lying on the ice bed. Her chest rose once, then fell slowly, too slowly. Every breath looked like a battle. Frost formed on her lips with each exhale, as if the air itself was trying to strangle her. The child knelt beside her, clutching her hand with small trembling fingers. "Mother, please stay. The human will help." Daniel stepped closer, scanning her with a small handheld device. The reading shocked him. The alien woman's lungs were filling with ice crystals, choking her from the inside. It wasn't normal sickness. This was something designed to kill. He whispered to himself, "It's like the cold is alive, forcing its way into her body." The child's big dark eyes locked on him.
"Can you save her?"
Daniel hesitated. He had repaired Starship engines, reactors, and even life support systems. But this was no machine. This was a living being from a species he barely understood. One mistake, one wrong move, and she would be gone forever. Still, he couldn't walk away. He pulled off his pack and spread his tools on the frozen floor. Wires, plasma cutters, small oxygen tanks, and medical patches he had traded for on distant stations. The child's voice cracked. Our healers could not stop it. They tried to warm her. They tried to give her air. But the cold only grew stronger. It wanted her. Daniel looked at the boy. Yes, now he could see the child was male, no older than 10 human years. The boy's skin glowed faintly with veins of blue light, dim like fading stars. His body shook, not just from the cold, but from fear. Daniel put a steady hand on his shoulder. "Listen to me. I'm going to try something, but I need your help." The boy nodded quickly, his eyes shining with desperate hope. Daniel leaned over the woman, studying her breathing. Her lungs are freezing. They can't move air anymore. I need to build something to replace them, at least until her body can heal. The boy tilted his head. Replace her lungs? Yes, artificial lungs. Daniel's mind raced. He had seen alien devices that could mimic organs, but they were rare, expensive, and forbidden for humans to use. He would have to make his own, here with nothing but scraps and human engineering. The boy whispered, "Can you really do that?" Daniel gave a thin smile. "I've rebuilt ships out of junkyards. Your mother is worth more than a ship. I'll find a way," but time was short. The woman's breaths grew weaker, each one a painful rattle. Her glowing veins flickered like dying stars. Daniel opened one of his small oxygen tanks, hooking it to a mask and pressed it to her face. The woman twitched, struggling, but the mask gave her a small burst of air. Not enough to heal her, but enough to keep her alive a little longer. The boy held the mask in place with shaking hands. "Mother, breathe. Please breathe." Daniel scanned the room for materials. The shelter was half ruined, but alien tech still hummed weakly in the walls. He found shattered tubes, cracked power cells, and frozen wires. He grabbed them quickly. His mind mapped out a design, a crude pump that could pull air, heat it, and push it into her lungs. It would be rough, dangerous, but it might work. Outside, the storm grew louder. The walls of the shelter shook. Daniel paused, listening. Beneath the wind, he thought he heard something else. A low hum, mechanical, like machines moving through the ice. The boy noticed his stillness. "The cold is coming." His voice was almost a whisper. "It knows we are here." Daniel frowned. "What do you mean it knows?" The boy's eyes filled with fear. "The cold is not just weather. It is a weapon. It hunts. It wants us gone." Daniel stared at him. A weapon. That explained the strange patterns in the ice. The way the storm moved like it had a mind. This wasn't nature. This was war. He turned back to his work, his hands moving faster. He heated the cracked wires with his torch, bending them into shape. He sealed the tubes with melted metal, forcing them into a crude circuit. Sparks flew, lighting the room for a moment. The boy flinched but did not let go of his mother's mask. Minutes stretched into what felt like hours. Daniel worked in silence, his breath fogging inside his helmet. Finally, he held up a small, ugly device, a pump with tubes powered by a broken cell designed to push warm air into lungs that no longer worked. "Not pretty," Daniel muttered. "But it might save her." The boy's eyes widened. "You built this so fast," Daniel gave a tired smile. "When death is close, you learn to work fast." He connected the pump, sliding the tubes into the mask. The device whirred, shaky but alive, sending warm air through the mask and into the woman's body. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, her chest rose, fuller this time. The frost on her lips melted slightly. A faint sound, almost like a sigh, escaped her throat. The boy gasped. She's breathing better. Relief washed through Daniel, but it lasted only a second. Outside, the storm screamed louder. The hum of machines grew nearer. The boy's small hand gripped his sleeve. They are coming. Daniel looked at the cracked walls. Shadows moved just beyond the ice, strange figures crawling closer. The pump sputtered, barely holding together. The woman lived, but danger pressed in from all sides. Daniel whispered, "We bought her time. But the real fight is just beginning." The shelter shuddered again, harder this time. Frost fell from the ceiling in tiny shards. The boy tightened his hold on his mother's hand as Daniel looked toward the doorway. Outside, the storm screamed. But beneath the wind was a sound no storm should make. Metal scraping against ice, the thump of heavy steps, and the sharp whine of machines. Daniel's stomach tightened. He had fought storms before, but storms did not walk. Storms did not search. The boy whispered, his dark eyes wide. "They are here." Daniel crouched low, his plasma torch still warm in his hand. "Who? What's out there?" The boy's voice cracked. "The cold machines. They serve the cold. They make the storms." Daniel froze. Machines? That explained the strange patterns he had noticed earlier. The unnatural way the wind and frost moved like soldiers in formation. The boy pulled Daniel's arm, his voice desperate. "If they find us, they will finish her. They will finish all of us." Daniel glanced at the alien mother. She was breathing better now with the crude pump, but only barely. Her glowing veins flickered like weak stars. If the machines reached them, she would not survive. He looked back at the boy. "Then we can't let them inside." The boy shook his head quickly. "No, we cannot fight them. They are too strong. Even our warriors failed. That is why we hide." Daniel studied the boy for a moment. He saw fear, but also truth. Still, running had never been Daniel's way. He had seen plenty of systems where people bowed to stronger powers. He hated it. He pressed his hand on the boy's shoulder. "Maybe you can't fight them. But I'm human. I've built weapons from scrap before. Machines can break, and if they bleed ice, I'll melt it." The boy blinked at him, confusion and hope mixing in his face. "Humans, you are not afraid?" Daniel gave a hard smile. "Afraid? Sure, but fear doesn't stop me. It makes me faster." The hum outside grew louder. Shadows passed the doorway, tall and sharp, with glowing blue lights shining through the storm. Their steps cracked the ice with every movement. Daniel motioned for the boy to stay down. He crept toward the broken doorway and peered out. At first he thought they were statues, giant figures made of frozen armor. But then one of them moved, turning its head. Its face was smooth, carved like glass, with no eyes, only a single glowing line of blue light across it. Its body was thick, built of crystal and metal fused together. Each step it took left Frost crawling along the ground. Daniel realized the boy was right. The cold was not nature. It was a weapon, and these were its soldiers, he whispered. "Machines of ice." The nearest one stopped. Its head tilted as if sniffing the air. Then it spoke. The voice was metallic, cold, but carried through the storm. "Lawbreakers detected. Unauthorized life detected. Purge." Daniel's blood ran cold. They knew he was human. They knew the boy had broken the law by calling him. The machines moved toward the shelter. Daniel darted back inside. "They're coming." The boy's face went pale. "What do we do?" Daniel scanned the room quickly. His pump device still worked, but it was fragile. If the machine smashed it, the mother would die instantly. He grabbed the broken power cells, shoving them into his pack. His mind raced. He couldn't outfight an army of machines, not with one torch and scraps. But maybe he didn't need to fight all of them. Maybe he only needed to scare them. The boy tugged his sleeve. "They will kill us." Daniel shook his head. "Not if I make them think I'm stronger than I am." He grabbed a half-frozen power coil from the wall and hooked it to his plasma torch. The coil sparked wildly, blue lightning jumping across the metal. The machine stepped through the doorway. Frost cracked across the floor. Their glowing lines flared brighter. Daniel stood tall, holding the sparking coil high. "You want me?" "Come take me." The machines froze, scanning him. Their metallic voices overlapped, cold and lifeless. Human technology detected. Illegal, forbidden, punishable by death. Daniel smirked. "Then you'll love what comes next." He slammed the coil into the icy floor. Lightning burst outward, crawling across the cracks. The machines staggered back, their glowing lines flickering. For the first time, Daniel saw hesitation in their movements. The boy gasped. "You hurt them," Daniel shouted. "Not hurt. But scared, the machines regrouped quickly. One stepped forward, its chest opening to reveal a glowing shard of frozen energy. The storm outside howled louder, answering the machine like a loyal pet. The boy clutched Daniel's arm. They will not stop. They will call more. They never stopped. Daniel's eyes narrowed. If what the boy said was true, then these things were endless. He could fight one, maybe two. But an army? Impossible. He glanced at the alien mother, still breathing weakly. He thought about the child's desperate voice that had reached him across the stars. He made a decision. He turned to the boy. Listen carefully. We can't stay here. The shelter won't hold. If they want to kill us for breaking their law, then we have to break the law even more. The boy's eyes widened. You mean run? Daniel shook his head. Not just run. We're going to fight smart. We'll keep your mother alive, and we'll make sure the machines regret ever following us. The boy stared at him, disbelief in his young face. But then slowly he nodded. If you say so, human. I believe you. The machines stepped closer, their glowing lines cutting through the storm. Daniel gripped his torch tighter. He knew this was only the beginning. The enemy in the ice was real, alive, and hunting them, and the galaxy's laws would not forgive what he was about to do. But he whispered to himself, voice steady, if saving life is a crime, then I'll be guilty forever. The storm outside roared like a living beast pounding against the broken shelter. The machines had pulled back, but Daniel knew it was not victory. They were watching, waiting, studying him like hunters studying prey. Inside, the alien mother breathed faintly through the crude pump Daniel had built. Each rise of her chest was a fragile thread keeping her alive. The boy sat beside her, eyes wide and shining, never letting go of her hand. Daniel crouched on the icy floor, tools spread around him. His fingers ached from the cold, but he forced them to keep moving. He whispered under his breath, as if speaking to himself would keep his mind sharp. She needs more than this pump. This thing won't last an hour. If I don't build something stronger, she'll die. And so will we. The boy tilted his head, his voice soft but full of urgency. What are you building now, human? Daniel looked up at him, his jaw tight. Artificial lungs. Real ones this time, not a patch job. Something that can keep her alive even when the cold tries to choke her. The boy blinked, confused. Artificial lungs? Daniel nodded. Machines that breathe for her. They'll take the air, heat it, push it into her chest. Stronger than her frozen lungs. Strong enough to fight back against the cold. The boy's eyes widened. You can build that? Daniel smirked faintly. I can build almost anything if I have parts, but here, I don't have enough. He looked around the broken shelter. Shattered power cells, cracked alien panels, rusted human scrap. Nothing was whole. Everything was frozen, weak, and dying, just like the woman. But Daniel had learned long ago that hope wasn't found in perfect tools. It was found in broken ones if you had the courage to fit them together. He gathered the alien panels first, brushing off the frost. The material was light but strong, some kind of crystal metal blend. He tapped it. It rang like glass. Good, this will make the outer shell. The boy leaned closer, curious now. What about the inside? Daniel pulled wires from his pack, then tore open a broken alien coil. They'll heat the air. Your mother's body can't handle the cold anymore, so we'll fight the cold with fire. The boy's dark eyes glowed faintly as he watched. His fear began to fade, replaced with awe. You make machines breathe like living things. Daniel smiled without looking up. That's the thing about humans. When life breaks, we fix it, no matter what. For the first time since Daniel had landed, the boy's lips curved into a small smile. But outside, the storm screamed again. Closer this time. The shadows of the cold machine slid across the icy walls, glowing lines burning in the darkness. They weren't gone. They were circling. Daniel didn't stop working. He soldered wires, fused panels, bent broken metal into shape. Sparks lit the room, reflecting in the boy's wide eyes. The boy whispered, "They will come back." Daniel nodded without looking up. I know. That's why we have to finish this before they do. The boy hesitated. Then he pressed his glowing hands against the cracked power cell. Light pulsed from his veins into the metal and the cell flickered to life. Daniel's eyes widened. You can charge it? The boy nodded quickly. My people. We carry light. It is our gift, but the cold drains it. I don't have much left. Daniel grinned, his hope sparking like the cell itself. You just saved us hours. With your light and my tools, we can do this. Together they worked. Daniel guided, the boy followed. When Daniel said, hold this steady, the boy held it without trembling. When Daniel said, give me light, the boy pressed his hand to the cell, sending a faint glow until sparks leapt alive. Minutes stretched into long, tense hours. The woman's breathing grew weaker, each breath a soft rattle. The pump sputtered, threatening to die at any moment. Daniel's hands moved faster. Sweat froze on his brow, his breath fogging his helmet. Almost there, he muttered. Just a little longer. At last he held it up, the prototype. A pair of artificial lungs, ugly but strong, wires twisted around glowing crystal. The shell shimmered faintly, alive with the boy's light. The boy gasped. It looks like her. Like part of her body. Daniel gave a tired smile. It has to, or her body will reject it. We're not just building a machine, we're building hope. He leaned over the alien mother, carefully removing the sputtering pump. Her chest fell weakly, her glow dimming. The boy whimpered, clutching her hand. Please, don't let her go. Daniel's voice was steady, though his heart pounded. I won't. He pressed the artificial lungs against her chest. The wires sank into place, the crystals glowing brighter. For a heartbeat, nothing happened. Then air rushed. Her chest rose, deeper than before. The frost on her lips cracked and melted. The boy cried out, tears shining. She's breathing. She's alive! Daniel exhaled, his body sagging with relief. It worked. We actually did it. But before he could rest, the walls of the shelter shook violently. Ice cracked. The doorway filled with blue light. The cold machines had returned. Their voices overlapped, cold and merciless. Unauthorized technology detected. Human interference confirmed. Termination required. Daniel stood, placing himself between the machines and the family he had just saved. His plasma torch glowed in his grip. He whispered under his breath, We built hope. Now we fight for it. The shelter cracked under the weight of the storm. The walls shook. Frost crept across the floor like living veins. Daniel stood tall in front of the alien mother and her son, plasma torch glowing in his hand. The new artificial lungs pumped faintly, keeping the woman alive, but fragile wires sparked every few seconds. One hit from the cold machines and it would all be over. The boy clutched his mother's hand, tears freezing on his cheeks. His voice trembled. Human, please, don't let them take her. Daniel's jaw tightened. They'll have to go through me first. From the doorway, the cold machine stepped inside. 4 of them. Tall, sharp figures made of ice and metal, glowing blue lines running across their crystal-like bodies. Each step they took froze the ground solid. Their voices rang together, cold and empty. Unauthorized technology detected. Human interference illegal. Sentence termination. Daniel's heart pounded, but he forced himself to smirk. Yeah, well, you'll have to catch me first. He slammed his plasma torch into the ground. Sparks flew, melting the ice in a flash of steam. The machine staggered back for a second, their glowing lines flickering. Boy, Daniel shouted. Take your mother and stay low. Don't move unless I say. The boy pulled his mother tighter against the wall, shielding her with his small body. His eyes shone with fear, but also with trust. Daniel faced the machines. His mind raced. He couldn't win a straight fight. But maybe he could buy time. The first machine lunged forward, arms sharp as blades. Daniel ducked, rolling across the icy floor. He swung the torch, slicing across its chest. Steam hissed. A crack spread through its glowing core and it froze mid-step. The boy gasped. You heard it! Daniel grinned tightly. Not enough. The other 3 machines advanced. One raised its arm, firing a blast of frozen mist. The air turned solid, shards of ice spinning like knives. Daniel dove behind a broken panel, the shards slamming into the wall. His suit beeped in alarm as temperatures dropped dangerously low. He peeked out. The machines were closing in. Think, Daniel. Think. His eyes darted to the broken power cells stacked near the wall. Dangerous, unstable, perfect. He grabbed one, sparks biting at his gloves, and hurled it at the nearest machine. The cell exploded in a burst of blue fire. The machine shattered, chunks of crystal flying across the shelter. The boy shouted in awe, Human fire beats the cold. Daniel chuckled under his breath. Damn right, but the victory was short. The remaining 2 machines charged, their glowing lines flaring brighter. One smashed through the wall, breaking ice and metal with terrifying strength. The shelter shook, half collapsing. Snow poured inside, the storm now roaring through the cracks. Daniel stumbled, nearly dropping his torch. He slashed wildly, sparks flying, but the second machine caught his arm. The cold spread instantly through his suit, biting into his flesh. His hand went numb. Teeth gritted, Daniel shoved the torch into its face. The heat cracked its glass-like head, and with a screeching hiss it collapsed into shards. Only one remained. It turned its head, ignoring Daniel. Its glowing line fixed on the alien mother. The boy screamed. "No, stay away!" The machine raised its arm. A shard of frozen light formed at its core, ready to fire. Daniel's stomach dropped. He was too far away. He couldn't stop it in time. The boy acted. Small, trembling, but brave. He stood in front of his mother, spreading his arms wide. His glowing veins flickered bright. The machine spoke, voice cold and final. "Weak life form. Eliminate," Daniel roared, sprinting forward. "Not on my watch." He leapt, tackling the machine with all his strength. The shard of frozen light fired, missing the boy by inches and blasting a hole through the wall. The machine slammed Daniel to the ground, its weight crushing, its icy claws scraping against his helmet. Frost crawled across his visor, blinding him. Desperate, Daniel reached to his belt and grabbed his last power cell. He jammed it into the machine's chest. "Chew on this." The cell exploded with a thunderous crack. Blue light burst through the machine, tearing it apart. Shards of ice rained across the shelter, sizzling as they melted against the torch's heat. Silence fell. Daniel lay on the frozen ground, chest heaving, his suit sparking with damage. Slowly he pushed himself up. The boy ran to him, eyes wide. You beat them all." Daniel coughed, his voice rough. "Not beat. Just bought us time." He looked at the alien mother. Her chest still rose and fell, the artificial lungs whirring faintly. She was alive, but the wires sparked dangerously, almost breaking. Daniel knew the fight had cost them more than he could afford. His tools were nearly gone. His suit was damaged. And worse, he had used human technology banned by the Galactic Council. The explosions, the signals, they must have been detected by now. The boy followed his gaze, whispering softly. "More will come." "They always come," Daniel sighed. "Yeah, and next time it won't just be machines. It'll be the law itself." He looked at the boy, at the courage shining in his small frame, and then at the mother, alive because they had refused to give up. Daniel clenched his fists. "Let them come. I'll break every law in the galaxy if it means keeping her alive." The storm outside howled louder, as if answering his defiance. The shelter was in ruins. Ice wind poured through the cracks, swirling snow across the floor. Sparks popped from broken power cells, glowing briefly before fading into darkness. Daniel leaned against the wall, chest heaving, his gloves burned and torn. The fight had left him bruised, exhausted, and low on supplies. Yet his eyes stayed fixed on the alien mother. She was still alive, barely. The artificial lungs he had built wheezed, their wires flickering with each pump. The machine was failing. The boy sat beside her, clutching her hand tightly. His glowing veins dimmed, his face pale from cold. He looked up at Daniel, eyes wet with fear. "Human. The machine is dying. She will die too. Can you fix it?" Daniel knelt, inspecting the device. The power cell inside was almost drained, the wires blackened. He shook his head slowly. "It won't last another hour." The boy's voice cracked. "Then make another one." "You can make anything." Daniel clenched his jaw. He could make another, if he had the right parts. But there was nothing left. The shelter was stripped bare. The cold machines had destroyed almost everything useful, except one thing. Daniel's hand drifted to his pack. Buried deep inside, wrapped in cloth, was a small forbidden device, an experimental fusion heart battery. A piece of human technology banned by the Galactic Council. The Council called it dangerous, unnatural, too powerful, too unstable. They had ordered all of them destroyed decades ago. But Daniel had kept one, not for selling, not for profit, for survival. And now survival meant breaking every law in the galaxy. He pulled the battery out. It glowed faintly in his palm, a soft pulsing light like a beating heart. Even cold as he was, Daniel could feel its heat seeping through the cloth. The boy's eyes widened. "What is that?" Daniel hesitated. "Something I swore I'd never use. The council calls it forbidden. If they find out I used it, they'll kill me. And maybe you too." The boy's hand shook. But it can save her? Daniel nodded slowly. Yes. If I connect this to the lungs, she'll have more than just air. She'll have warmth, energy, strength. Enough to fight the cold. Enough to live. The boy stared at his mother, then at the glowing battery. His lips trembled. Please, human, she is my only family. I don't care about their laws. Daniel looked into his eyes. For a moment he saw not just fear, but courage. A child ready to defy the galaxy for love. Daniel whispered, almost to himself, "Neither do I." He set the battery on the floor, unwrapping it fully. Its light filled the ruined shelter, golden and alive, pushing back the frost. The boy gasped softly, reaching out as if drawn to its warmth. Daniel snapped his hand back. Careful. It's strong. Too strong. If I mess this up, it could kill her instantly. Or all of us. The boy nodded, swallowing hard. I trust you. Daniel took a deep breath and began his work. His hands trembled as he tore out the old cell, wires sparking weakly. He connected the first lead to the heart battery. The device hummed, glowing brighter. The mother gasped faintly, her chest rising more strongly for a moment before falling weak again. Daniel muttered, "Not yet. Hold on." He soldered the second lead. Sparks leapt, the air filling with the smell of burning metal. The boy flinched, but Daniel didn't stop. Sweat dripped down his face despite the freezing air. Finally, he connected the final wire. The battery pulsed like a real heart. The lungs roared to life. Warm air flowed, strong and steady. The woman's chest lifted higher than before, smoother, deeper. The frost on her lips melted completely. The boy cried out in joy. She's breathing. She's really breathing. Daniel sagged back, relief flooding his chest. It worked. But before he could breathe again, alarms blared from the machine's remains. The shattered cold machine on the floor pulsed with blue light, sending out a signal. The boy's smile faded. What is happening? Daniel's face hardened. The battery's energy. It's too strong. They felt it. The council knows. Through the cracks in the shelter, the storm outside shifted. No longer wild, it moved with purpose, like soldiers marching. Blue lights glowed in the distance, dozens, maybe hundreds. The boy clutched his mother, tears brimming. They're coming for us. Daniel stood, gripping his torch tightly. His voice was steady, defiant. They're not coming for us. They're coming for me. I broke their law. I used what they fear most. He looked down at the boy, who stared up at him with trembling courage. Daniel knelt, placing a hand on his small shoulder. Listen to me. Whatever happens next, stay with your mother. Protect her. That's what matters. The boy shook his head fiercely. No, I will stay with you. You saved her. You saved us. I won't let them take you. Daniel's heart tightened. This child, who had nothing left but his mother, was willing to stand against the galaxy for him. The storm roared louder, machines closing in. Their voices echoed faintly through the ice. Illegal fusion technology detected. Human outlaw confirmed. Termination required. Daniel rose to his feet, plasma torch blazing. He glanced once more at the alien mother, her breathing steady now, her life saved by a forbidden choice. Then he whispered, more to himself than anyone else. If saving life is a crime, then I'll be guilty forever. The storm cracked open and the enemy advanced. The storm outside split open with light. Dozens of glowing shapes marched across the ice, their blue lines blazing like fire in the snow. The cold machines had returned, not just a few this time, but an army. Inside the broken shelter, Daniel stood tall with his plasma torch in hand. Behind him, the alien mother lay breathing steadily, her new artificial lungs glowing with the power of the forbidden fusion heart. The boy sat close to her, his small body trembling but his eyes burning with courage. The voices of the machines echoed through the storm, cold and merciless. Fusion heart detected. Human outlaw confirmed. Galactic law demands termination. Daniel's teeth clenched. He had expected this. He had known the moment he connected that battery. The galaxy would come for him. Still, seeing the endless army of machines made his heart sink. The boy whispered, "There are too many." Daniel looked back at him, forcing a steady smile. "Too many for me, but not too many for us." The boy blinked. Us? Daniel crouched beside him. You and me, human and alien. We fight together or we die together. Do you trust me? The boy swallowed hard, then nodded. I trust you. Daniel stood again, shoulders squared. Good. Then we'll make the galaxy remember why humans don't quit. The machines advanced. Their steps cracked the ice, sending waves of frost crawling toward the shelter. The air grew colder with every breath. Daniel took a deep breath, his mind racing. He couldn't win by brute force. Not against an army. But maybe he could outsmart them. His eyes darted to the glowing fusion battery inside the artificial lungs. Its energy pulsed like a living star. Dangerous, unstable, but powerful enough to light an entire city or destroy one. The boy followed his gaze and gasped. "No, you can't take it out." "She will die." Daniel shook his head. "Not take it out, but connect it to more. If I can link the leftover power cells to the heart, I can make a surge strong enough to fry their systems." The boy's eyes widened. A wave of fire. Against the cold? Daniel nodded grimly. Exactly. The boy hesitated, torn between fear for his mother and trust in Daniel. Then he pressed his glowing hands against the spare cells, pouring his fading light into them. "Use me, use everything. Just save her. Save us." Daniel's throat tightened. This child had already risked everything. Now he was offering his very life. He grabbed the boy's shoulder. "No, you've done enough. I'll take it from here." The boy looked at him, eyes shining with tears. "Then promise me. If I fall, you will keep her safe." Daniel nodded firmly. "I promise." Outside, the machines raised their arms. Energy built in their chests, glowing shards of frozen light ready to fire. Daniel moved fast. He wired the cells to the fusion battery, sparks leaping wildly. The hum grew louder, shaking the floor. The artificial lungs struggled, the mother coughing as the system strained. Daniel whispered under his breath, "Hold on just a little longer." The first blast hit the shelter. Ice shards tore through the walls. Daniel shielded the boy and the mother with his body. His suit tearing, frost burning his skin, he screamed, both in pain and defiance, and slammed the final wire into place. The fusion heart roared. A wave of golden light burst outward, flooding the shelter and exploding into the storm. The machines froze mid-step, their glowing lines flickering wildly. The frost on the ground shattered. The storm itself split apart, melting under the heat. The machines screamed in metallic voices, collapsing one by one as the surge tore through their systems. Shards of ice rained down, dissolving into mist. When the light faded, silence fell. The storm was gone. The machines were nothing but shattered husks. Daniel collapsed to his knees, chest heaving. Smoke rose from his suit, his hands burned raw. The boy crawled to his mother, eyes wide with hope. The lungs still glowed, weak but alive. She was breathing, slow, steady, alive. "She lives." The boy cried, tears streaming down his face. Daniel smiled faintly, pain in every muscle but pride burning in his heart. "Told you, humans don't quit." But even in victory, he knew it wasn't over. The council would come. They would see the surge, know the law had been broken, and send more than machines. They would send enforcers, fleets, judges. The boy looked at him, fear returning. "They will punish us." Daniel stood slowly, gripping his torch though his arm shook. "Maybe, but they'll have to face me first." The boy blinked. "You would fight the whole galaxy?" Daniel looked out at the broken storm, his eyes hard. "If the law says saving a life is a crime, then the law is wrong. And I'll fight it until my last breath." The boy's glowing veins pulsed brighter, his courage growing. He stood beside Daniel, small but unshaken. "Then I will fight too. With you." Daniel placed a hand on his shoulder. "Good, because we just started something bigger than both of us. We showed them that life matters more than law, and the galaxy will hear us." Behind them, the alien mother stirred, opening her eyes weakly for the first time. She whispered something soft in her own language, her gaze falling on Daniel. The boy translated with tears in his eyes. She says, "Thank you, human." Daniel's chest ached, but he smiled. "Tell her she's welcome. And tell her she's not alone anymore." The wind outside was quiet now, the stars visible above. For a moment there was peace. But Daniel knew it wouldn't last. The council would come. They always did. Still, as he stood with the boy and his mother, he felt no fear. Only resolve, because in that frozen corner of the galaxy, one human had defied the cold, the machines, and the law itself, and he would do it again.